Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome. You're live with us here on SAP, hands-on SAP Dev with QMacro. I got the title of my my series wrong. How many times have I done this? 48 times. Hands-on SAP Dev with QMacro. That's me, DJ. I'm coming to you from a very dull, overcast Friday morning here in Manchester. Very grey. It was a beautiful morning yesterday. Hello Napit, and also Daniel Collar, welcome. I like your good morning master. Pupils, are you sitting comfortably? I've got some awesome teachers for you on the episode today. I've got my coffee, and we were just discussing in the green room. Well, it's nice to be able to say in the green room. We were just discussing what drinking vessels we're all using. So I'm using the SAP Inside Track Frankfurt 5th anniversary mug here, and I think Hendrik has got the SAP Inside Track Netherlands mug, and Gregor has got something super special as well. So today we're going to be talking about using sort of SAP technology, in particular the ABAP programming language, and also functions as a service on SAP Cloud Platform to do something rather interesting, to solve programming puzzles, and we'll come to that shortly. Who else have we got on the stream? Welcome, Robert. Welcome, Napit. Welcome, Gregor. I can see Gregor as well, but that's very confusing because I can see Gregor here as on my screen, which is awesome. Thank you, Gregor. This is really cool. So did I also see Mahesh and Lars and Helmut? Wow, lots of chat. This is great. Howdy. Okay, so let me just switch from my intro scene to my main scene, and I wanted to introduce to you first of all via the SAP community homepage Hendrik Neumann in Cisco Plan. I'm just in fact, Hendrik, I've just noticed here working for Cisco Plan. That's an awesome mixture of English and German. That's brilliant. I like that. So Hendrik is a superstar. Are you in Frankfurt at the moment, Hendrik? Excellent. Okay. And we also have coming on the screen Gregor Wolf. I'm sure you know both of these folks from the SAP community. So I'm super excited and super grateful for them to be on here. Yes, it does. I mean, it is quite dark on my camera, but yes, please bring some light, metaphorically as well as physically. That's really good. Thank you, Gregor. So yeah, we've got an action-packed episode for you today. So I'm going to stop rambling very shortly, but I wanted to sort of set the scene a little bit and just explain to those who may not know already what we're doing here. So this is episode 47, and there's something going on in December called Advent of Code. I think it's been going for a number of years, maybe 3, 4, 5 years, I'm not quite sure, by a chap called Eric Wastel, and they're programming puzzles basically, and you get a puzzle every day. Well, you get a pair of puzzles every day, different sorts of puzzles, really interesting, sort of Christmas, Santa, elves, space theme, which is always fun. And the key thing is for me, and I think also for many of us who do this, it's a way to have a bit of fun, learning a new language maybe, or learning new techniques, or doing something slightly different, and giving yourself an opportunity to improve your skills, right? So that's what this is all about. And so Advent of Code is wonderful. We'll see that in action when Hendrik takes the stage shortly. But also, in a similar vein, and I'd not heard of this until Gregor introduced it to us, there is also this thing called 25 Days of Serverless. Serverless. I need more coffee, obviously. 25 Days of Serverless, which is also very similar to Advent of Code. It's a series of programming puzzles that you're supposed to solve using serverless technologies. So I'll let Gregor explain more about that when Gregor comes on. Just to show you, and Gregor will show you a little bit more of this, that One thing that Gregor's been doing is solving these 25 days of serverless functions. What I meant to show you is this one. Solving the 25 days of serverless puzzles. I keep going to the wrong URL. Here we go. Right, there we go. Sorry. With the functions as a service beta service on SAP Cloud Platform. Now, Gregor's going to be showing us a little bit more about this, but basically, as you can see here, and Gregor will be taking you through this, I've set up a beta sub-account with a Cloud Foundry organization connected to it, turned on beta features, which means that I can then access the functions as a service runtime. So that's that. Just to let you know that Hendrik is going to show us some ABAP. And if you want to do the ABAP on Cloud Platform, then we've got this mission that we had at TechEd. And that mission involves you creating an account on the SAP Cloud Platform ABAP environment, creating a trial user, and that's now available to you all to do at home as well. So if you want to do that, follow this tutorial. There's a tutorial there. I've got this link. I've just posted it in the chat there, and the one I just showed you before when I went there incorrectly. App space. Yeah, there's the tutorial in context. Sorry, what is wrong with me today? I can't speak properly. There is the app space from TechEd, and you'll see here there's the SAP Cloud Platform ABAP environment mission as well. So let me just post the app space link as well. And there we go. Gosh, that was a bit of a weird thing. I need some more coffee. 1 second. So I've got Hendrik and Gregor in the green room. I've already been rambling for 6 or 7 minutes now, so I'm going to stop rambling and move to the main scene, which allows me to bring in Hendrik and Gregor, who've been sitting there very silently and very, very, very well there. Let me move to this main scene. And go to guest scene. There we go. So Hendrik and Gregor, welcome. We can see you at the bottom.
Yeah, nice. Hello, everyone.
Hello. And Hendrik, would you like to start sharing your screen? I'll put it back in the guest area.
Yeah, good morning.
There we go. Hendrik's screen is about to appear. Add to scene. Awesome. I've already got that there. Oops.
Seems we had a bit of audio issues. Hope it's getting better.
Yeah, that's better. I think it is better. Yes, thank you. Right. I think.
My screen be there.
Oh, your audio is really bad.
Okay, so let's try that. I'm going to go on mute for a second, but Hendrik, I'm going to hand over to you for a while.
Okay, I can see my screen is there, so kind of good. Let me first maybe give you an idea what my personal task was for me. I try to solve all the riddles, managed till day 4 now, so I'm missing out 1 day in a test-driven ABAP development mode. So, and of course, I try to get.
Sorry, Hendrik, one second. We're getting some audio issues. Let me just see if I can sort those out from this end. Okay, do you want to say something now, Hendrik?
No, I can try again. Is it better?
No, not really. Perhaps unshare your camera so it saves some bandwidth.
Yeah, maybe unshare your camera. Have you just unshared your camera, Gregor, as well?
I did, yes. I did.
Okay, 1 sec. To switch to the hide cam. Okay, maybe that's better now.
That's really odd. We're getting some definite feedback. Tell you what we'll do is if we switch to Gregor, maybe Gregor goes first, and then it gives you a chance, Hendrik, to have a look at your setup there.
Perhaps leave the room and enter again.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so Gregor, do you want to share your screen?
Yep, going so. And here we are, hopefully. Just let me know.
Okay, great. Let me just make that a little bit smaller so it fits on.
Yeah, I also increase the font size here. So let me start with, I've heard about it from Christian Lechner, actually. He's very into function as a service, especially also on Azure. But I thought, let's give it a try on SAP Cloud Platform, because there's also this function as a service beta service available. And it started off day one challenge very easy. Just this dreidel thing. So there seems to be like a what is a Würfel in English?
A dice, a
A
die.
dice, yeah. To roll the dice, yeah. And so there were simple instructions saying, just bring up an REST API, which brings back this for Hebrew word letters, it seems.
Mm-hmm.
And so I gave it a go, and in my SAP Cloud Platform trial account, I went into the space. Actually, we are lucky that it will run today, because I'm running out of the trial time again. But as I learned via Twitter from the guys from the SAP Cloud Platform, you can renew anytime, but it will delete your applications. But you will not lose anything when you put it on GitHub, for example.
Yeah.
Uh,
A little
so
bit of maintenance required there.
yeah, so I directly just started off from the web IDE, and there is a template for creating a function as a service application, or how to call it, like a project. So it's a project wizard to do that, and then it simply brings up you actually create a Node.js module which implements a handler function. And from there you get an event, but you then can simply just return something. And I made this three-liner. So I create an array of the values. I get some random number, multiply it by 4, because it is always between 0 and 1. And
Nice.
just round it, and then I read this index and return it.
Gregor, sorry, just to interrupt. Can you just make that font? I'm just monitoring it on this other screen here. Make the font of the editor a little bit bigger. Oh, okay, or even everything. That's perfect.
Yeah, it's everything is easier.
I was just saying to Gregor and Hendrik, when the font looks too big for you, then it's probably okay for the audience.
Yeah. Okay, and so that's it. And actually, as soon as you've written your service implementation, you just go and right-click and deploy. And then you can deploy as a function as a service project. And it will look up the service instance that I actually had to create before. There's one thing which I think I tried 4 times or so. Read the instructions carefully, because if you create the service instance, then you have to provide this little thing here as a JSON file during the setup. And if you don't do that, it will not work.
I hit the same problem.
Yeah, so it's that's a little bit of a hassle, but then simply deploy, and then you can run it. And for this simple function, that was really the way I did it, because it's not complicated. You don't do too many errors in that coding, and for that, it's the way to go. But so let's try or see that this deployment works.
The one thing that I really like as well is the fact that you can use Unicode straight in the code here.
Well, it's 2019, I thought, so I hope that works.
that doesn't mean anything when it comes to Unicode, but this is impressive.
I know it's sometimes Unicode is really a mess, and then actually this page I discovered only today in preparation. That is the page which you can get when you walk into your account, in your SAP account, And actually, there is entries as subscriptions. Okay, yeah, we got the classic timeout.
Classic demo timeout.
Again, and now let's go again into our sub account. Let's go into our subscriptions, and what you will see is there is a subscription here for functions, and the link you get here is this application which I'm showing. And here we see that we have 2 functions, 2 HTTP triggers, and we can inspect some details here. Also here we get the classic timeouts, and hopefully the login works and brings us really to the page we are expecting to go. Okay, nice. And here we see the 2 functions. And what we can also look up here is the triggers. So that is actually the URL which we can use to call the service. Of course, because it's a demo, I didn't put any in for authentication. Yeah. So, and look closely to the URL because there's really a nice thing in it. Here we are. So, and yeah, so that is my service, returning on every refresh something different, hopefully. Or sometimes it comes up with multiple things, but that's the way it goes. Good. So I thought, yeah, day 1 solved. I skipped day 2. Day 3 was the challenge, which is a little bit more fun because the challenge is to take from a GitHub repo, and GitHub supports so-called webhooks. So you can hook in any HTTP reachable thing. So like, for example, a function as a service, which has an HTTP trigger, and get the information about the latest commit or push to your GitHub repository. And you were asked then to take everything which is a PNG and save that to somewhere as a database. So yeah, I started here also in WebID, but as it's getting a little bit more complex, I thought about, yeah, is there any way to do that local? And actually there is. So here in the documentation, you see after the initial setup administration, there is also here a section for development. And you can get here instructions how to work with function as a service project library, which you can then install locally on your own system, and you can run your project completely locally. And that was the first step that I did. I've committed my project to GitHub and then cloned it locally and added a little bit of scripts here in my package JSON. And here I think we also have to go a little bit bigger with the font. And yeah, and then I was able to just put in npm run watch and was able to develop locally. You see, it's spinning up a local server and it's showing you which functions are available there. This configuration, which functions are available, is done in this function as a service JSON, and quite straightforward. You have here a section for the functions where you define which JavaScript file is actually implementing this function, and then you also define here the triggers.
Gregor, can we just have a quick look in your package JSON just to see again which modules are required for this? It's this SAP FAS dev dependency module that you're using here to run these things locally, right?
Yes. Yes.
Perfect.
So that is the only local dependency I put in, and that was put in by the wizard. What I recognized when I made the npm install today, it's actually a deprecated package. So so here something has to be done by for the wizard. Okay, yeah, and then I went into the coding, and here in the lib folder I have my Git webhook, which is completely a mess. So I'm actually not a really good coder. I bring things together and bring things working, but actually it's just I Google things and then make sense out of it.
Gregor, you are not alone. I mean, I think actually that's a really good point. I mean, I've spoken to a number of folks over the past few days that had looked maybe doing the advent of code puzzles or these puzzles or just generally, and there's no shame in whatever your code looks like. You know, if it works and if it's maintainable, then you know that's all good. So I know there's a lot of people out there who are maybe a little bit nervous about sharing the code they're using to build solutions to advent of code, for example. But don't be. You know, we're all the same here, and my code looks very much like Gregor's here right now.
Yeah, but I think the one thing I learned, I really now getting better understanding of async stuff. So
yeah.
That's really one positive thing. Yeah, so what I actually get, I use the event, and the event has an attribute data where it's actually then the JSON which I get from GitHub.
Yep.
And here in the commits, I loop around the commits and look into the detail what was added. So I, in the moment, only have implemented that when you add a new picture. So, and here, what I need then to get is, I need the actual picture to get loaded from the raw GitHub user content.
Okay.
So
yeah.
I make it simple. I just have this URL statically in here and add the file which I extract from the JSON that is sent by the Git webhook. And yeah, then I get the data. And when I've got the data.
So you're using quite a low-level HTTP library there, the HTTPS library. So that's why you have to do this response on data to grab the data as it comes in chunks, right?
Yeah, I wanted to really have no more external dependencies. So that is just really the standard Node.js HTTPS.
It's built in,
library.
right? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, built in and no library. Good, and then I have a function upload to backend. So, and yeah, but actually to what backend? So of course I went the way to use our beloved CAP programming model.
I thought you might be going to there because I saw those the chat on the Slack channel about media.
Yeah, and so there is actually on the CAP community. If you don't know yet, someone put in a link to bit.ly/cap-com, and then you go there and you find also these examples. And I made this simple backend service that is my data model. For the ID, I'm actually not using a GUID. What I'm using is an SHA-256 hash, because I take the binary data of the picture, create a hash, and I take this as the primary key, so every picture is only stored once.
Yeah, nice.
And yeah, then simply you have a column for the content, and as I always have a fixed media type, I just define it here also as a literal.
Very nice, very simple.
And yeah, and then let's expose this, and here we go. So that is the service. These two files make it up, and then I simply can run it by right-clicking here. So first, yeah, you of course build the database artifacts. I do a right-click build to initialize the HANA database or the HDI container. And then we can kick off the server, and we have something which is reachable from the internet.
And this is also completely, apart from the CDS itself, completely code-free. So there's no custom handlers here. You just define this data model in the service definition, and off you go.
Yeah, and that's it. And yeah, of course, to actually test the backend. What I really fell in love with is this function in Visual Studio Code. There is an add-on called the REST client.
Ah, yes.
and it allows you to write .htp files, and where you can define really nicely just write down what you want to do. And so I've written or just copied actually from the real thing from our examples in the CAP community. I've copied that. How can I read pictures from the site? And actually, there is one picture already in here. But let's do the dry run, the test. How can I create an image? So to create an image, I have to send first, if it's OData v4, I have to first send a request to actually create the image entity. So I send this request, and I get back, yep, looks good, created, was the HTTP return message. And then I really nice functionality also here. If you have a picture laying around locally, then you can,
really nice.
Yeah, then you can just simply write this put in the content type and say, yeah, take this from the local folder and send it. And hopefully we can also then read this picture. And I think I've forgotten this maybe. And let's write it here. One important thing, if you want to have multiple requests, you have to put in 3 hashes to separate them.
Right.
And
This is
please tell me
really
when I'm running too long. So
don't worry. Yeah, I'm going to give you another 5 minutes, and then we'll hand over to Hendrik.
Good. And we see our picture was now stored. And to make our example really complete, let's also do the delete. Delete picture. And let's do the delete. There we go. But here we have to remove this content thing. Good. Send the request, and no content anymore. Let's check. Yeah, the picture is gone. Okay, nice. Can I close it? Here we go. So good. So that was really, now we have a backend where we can send our picture to. And to make also my life easier during development, I also created now a test for what is actually sent from GitHub. And the nice thing is GitHub just simply presents you what data it sends to the webhook when you look into details of your webhook settings. So this is a page, this is a repo which I'm monitoring with the webhook. And then you simply go in here and scroll down, and what you will see is here is the last request that was successfully sent, and here you have the complete payload.
That's really nice. Yeah. They've done a
So
really good job there.
You don't need any like REST or API catcher. There are many out there, but here it's really straightforward. Just copy paste that, and I shrank it down a little bit to just the bare minimum. And yeah, so I can give it a try locally, and let's send this request with this picture. We've just deleted it, you remember? And now we send it again, and we got an okay result. Unfortunately, that is not really yet okay. It's handled before everything is saved, but
it's an asynchronous okay, I guess.
Yeah. Yes. Okay, and let's give it a try. Send the request. What pictures do we have? And we actually have 2, and one of them should be the our picture that we've just seen before, because I taken this test PNG also here for the example. Okay, but and so that was the way I've developed my code. You can all watch it on GitHub. But now let's go to the real test. Let's make a small screenshot of something. Screenshot is done. Let's go and rename the screenshot to code 2 and bring it over to the correct folder. So this should be the one. And let's copy from
Maybe a
somewhere.
little larger there if you're going to stay there
Yeah,
for a bit.
I do. So let's copy this picture just into the local folder and make the git add, git commit, new image 2, and we go with git push.
Okay, here we go.
Here
The
we
big
go.
moment.
Let's see. Good. We have a new picture. So it was committed. Let's perhaps double check what GitHub did regarding the webhook. I just refreshed the page. So it seems it was sent successfully. And let's check in our code here. Let's read the images. So we should be able to see that we have now 3. Unfortunately,
nice.
I haven't added a timestamp, so that would be helpful now, because we want to read it. And if we want to read it, so here we go. Let's just exchange this URL, and let's see. Oh, that was the one.
Excellent. That's so Inception-like as well. It's just amazing.
Yeah.
Gregor, that was a fantastic. So I just want to unpack that a little bit for us all here on the stream. So basically, I mean, apart from ironically, apart from the development, which of course you're doing locally, everything else is happening in the cloud. So what you've done is you've taken a screenshot, you've sent that as a file to GitHub.
Yes.
You've configured your GitHub repo to send to call a webhook on that commit. Okay, so there are different events in GitHub that are available to be able to send webhooks for. I seem to remember the name webhook was invented by a guy called Jeff Lindsay. Just a random bit of trivia there for you. And that webhook is then calling your function as a service that's sitting there waiting, basically that endpoint.
Yes.
That function as a service, or that endpoint is being served by the SAP Cloud Platform Functions as a Service infrastructure.
Correct.
That receives that, and then that turns around and itself makes some HTTP calls to, first of all, create a new container, maybe the wrong word to use in this context, but to create a new entry in your backend HDI container-based persistence layer on HANA on Cloud Platform, and then squirts the actual binary data to it. And you've created that, and that is running also in your Cloud Platform account, just as a regular CAP project.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's pretty awesome. That's a really, really, really nice demo. I suspect that I'll be referring to this section of the recording of the live stream to many people. Gregor, thank you very much. There's welcome. A lot of people that had some great comments on here. People seem to really like this. And by the way, hello, Chris. Welcome, Boo Boo. It's really nice to see you on here. Yeah, hello F4 ABAP as well. That's fantastic, and lots of people to say hello. Thank you so much. And the REST client, yeah, I think we're all taking note of the REST client. I think many people have got it installed already. I think it's quite a popular thing internally at SAP on the CAP team itself. I know a lot of people use REST
so I got introduced by Daniel Hutzel to it.
Yes, exactly. Gregor, thank you so much. So we're 8:33 local time. May I suggest, Hendrik, that we bring you in now? Let me just remove Gregor's screen, Gregor Wolf's screen, delete. And also, I'm going to, Hendrik, ask you to share a screen, which you are doing, add to scene. There we go. Let me make that a little bit smaller. I don't know why it always seems to add to scene in a huge way, but I'm getting there. This is, by the way, this is so much more convenient than OBS and all the other stuff there. But I think we're good. So, Hendrik, do you want to turn is your microphone on?
Okay, mic is on. I hope my voice is now clear, crisp and clear, and everybody can hear me.
I think that's a lot better, actually. Yeah. Can people on the chat? Yes, it's a lot. So Gregor says it's a lot better, and also Napit. Fantastic. Yeah. So
I switched off everything else, all downloads, updates, and whatever. So hopefully.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting to see how much streaming really hammers your device. So yeah, the more things we can switch off, the better. So, Hendrik, as I say in the trade, follow that.
Okay, the advent of code for me was like doing ABAP again a little bit. I'm doing much too much of project management and architecture at the moment. So I thought it's good idea to get some hands-on experience again. And so my idea was to do a test-driven development. I installed the ABAP development version of the server on my laptop in a virtual box running SUSE Linux. So it's all on the laptop. Nothing cloud there. I thought it was a nice idea maybe to do that also with the ABAP in the cloud environment, but since I was traveling this week on the train, I thought, oh well, trains in Germany and cloud development, you know what I'm talking about.
Trains anywhere.
I did go with the development edition on the laptop.
Okay.
And everything's in Eclipse there. And let's maybe go to Eclipse here. So I've got my package, Advent of Code, where I put everything. Then I have solved day 1, 2, 3, and 4 so far. Day 5, I did manage to. I blame the SAP Stammtisch on Wednesday on the Christmas market in Frankfurt for that. So I guess
We'll
that's
let you off.
Very good excuse.
Very good excuse.
So maybe also take a look at some code. It's ABAP, so it's maybe not as stylish and as cool as Gregor stuff on the serverless front, but maybe you can. It's also nice because I guess with the new ABAP stuff, all those innovations coming since the 7.4 release, I think ABAP is really a great language. Yeah. So it's
totally right.
Far from being dead. Maybe quickly go for the ABAP Advent of Code. So those of you who don't know it, brief introduction was done by DJ in the beginning. This is the side of the first of day 1, and here's the description of the riddle we have to solve. It's for that one, it's like it's a story that has been told throughout the days, and the first one is a puzzle to solve where you have to calculate some fuel for some modules that go by rockets to some other solar systems. And what you always get is like a description of what to do. Then you get some examples with the output, which you can transform nicely to some unit tests. And in the end, you get a puzzle you have to answer, and that was my answer. And once you enter the right answer, part 2 of the riddle has been presented to you, where you have to maybe adapt your solution, add on some stuff, and then at the end also enter something as a solution. And you always get as input for your quest, for the quest, the riddles, you get a file of lots of different integers, for example.
Yeah,
I can show you that in a moment. And maybe to show you some code, because it's all about code here. The first one is about to calculate some fuel consumption stuff. And this one here is basically all I did here. It's very brief, it's very short, it's using a lot of new ABAP code stuff. And if you take a look at that, it looks maybe nothing like your grandfather's ABAP anymore. So, all those people who did SAP R2, they won't know what is happening here. But for everybody else, it's quite nice. You can see there's a recursion going on here, because you see that our calculation method for the fuel we need is calling itself again here. And that is for calculating the fuel, the extra fuel you need. If you let's start off. First, you need to calculate the fuel you need for a certain rocket based on the weight, the mass coming from there. That's basically the calculation up here. It's always the mass of the module you want to put on your rocket divided by 3, and then you have to, in the end, have the floor of that and reduce it by 2. That's basically the riddle itself. And then the second part of the riddle was to, calculate that, but take into account that if you add fuel to the rocket, you need more fuel because the rocket gets heavier.
Yeah.
And so that is a nice example for using recursion. That's what's happening here. So this method is basically calculating then the fuel plus the extra fuel. And to, of course, get the total calculation of all modules that you put on your rocket, that's basically what's happening here.
It's probably worth pointing out, I guess, for the folks who maybe have solved this, but maybe not in a recursive way. One of the key thing in any recursion is to make sure you catch the base case. So I can see there, for example, you've got the when x is less than 0, then 0, otherwise recurse. So that's the thing that's going to stop it looping around forever.
Exactly. That's here where you add your, like, up until that point, calculated mass of fuel, and then you add whatever you calculate on top. That's the way it goes. And when I said I got a lot of test-driven development, that's my local test class here. In ABAP, you always do local test class for your classes. That's the way to go there. And you can see here lots of different tests, and lots of those numbers here, they come from the advent of code riddle itself. So the puzzle we have to solve has those examples, and then you can just use those examples and solve them here. Yeah, that's the way it goes. And to have it run, for all those riddles, I basically built a small ABAP program, classic report here, where I just load in the input file. Maybe let's briefly have a look at how those look like. Move here, advent of code, 2019 input text 1. So that's basically the input file.
That's right, yeah. Those are all the masses of each of the modules.
Exactly, all the masses of the modules. And you get that from the advent of code website as a download, and then you have to calculate the total mass of fuel for everything. And if I actually run that program, it takes the input file and it calculates the total fuel, and I take that number and add it as a result on my, let's go here. And we see that is exactly the same number as calculated here, 4841054. And so I was able to complete the first mission here by doing just some pretty neat ABAP development.
So did you actually write the tests before you started coding? Was it true extreme TDD, or did you, like me, for example, sort of write the tests as you went, and you wrote some code and then you thought, oh, maybe I need to write some tests for this as well?
Actually, I started out with the first test here.
Wow, awesome!
And then I basically started calculating. And then I cleaned it up, and for me, that's a nice thing when you have the unit test, that you always are able to refactor your code, that you can make it nicer, and that you can kind of extract stuff into private methods or other classes, and you always have a safety net of your unit test. In that case here, maybe not that much, but if you take a look at the other examples there, so if you switch over to maybe the second tape, it's a little bit more code if you look. And it's getting even more code if you take a look at, for example, day 3. Maybe just jump to day 3 to have a. That was my.
Just reminding myself what day 2. Which one was day 3? That was which puzzle was that?
Day 3 was the panel where you have this electric panel and the wires.
Oh yes. Oh, that was quite an interesting one. Yeah.
So as you can see here, those are all the days. If I go to day 5, you can see I still have to solve this, and that's a long one. And here you can get your puzzle input, and since I didn't solve it yet, here's still the answer field open. So once I've solved this one, I can put my answer in here, submit it, and once it's correct, I get a star, and part 2 of the riddle will be opened. But if you take a look at, for example, day 3, that was a very nice thing where it was about, rocket. We said we have got a rocket story going, and in our rocket
coordinate intersections and so on.
Yeah, we've got something's going wrong, and we have a panel where some wires come out, and those wires are crossing each other, and we have to calculate the distance from the starting point of the panel to the crossing which is nearest to it. So You see an example. This is one of this is a panel itself, and we've got here a wire coming out, and that wire is then described by several digits and characters.
Yeah, the directions and lengths.
It's going right 8. You see this right 8, then up 5, left 5, and down 3.
Left 5 and then down 3.
So for that riddle, we always get 2. That's the first input, the first wire, and the second wire we've got here. Oops, this one, up 7, right 6, down 4, and left 4, and then put them on the board. You've got 2 intersections here, and then the first riddle is to calculate the Manhattan distance to both of those crossings and decide which one is the closest to the origin of the wires.
Yes.
And Manhattan
don't make the same mistake I did, which was to misread it and try and calculate the thing nearest to the center of the grid, first of all, which caused all sorts of issues. But then I realized I'd read the puzzle wrong.
Well, in the end, for that one, it's quite easy. But my solution was that would have worked as well with yours, because for me, I just put the origin in the center of everything.
Yeah, well, that also works. Yeah, origin is 0, 0. Actually, there was a couple of 3 comments that I noticed in the chat. So thank you all so much for such a great conversation in the chat, which I've been following here. One of the comments was from Nabhit, who said something about the cond. If you can go back to your Eclipse and show us the cond that was used in that recursive method in your solution, maybe we could just stare at that for a second, because I think it's actually quite a beautiful thing, right?
Yeah, the conditional operator here. Oh, yeah, that's quite nice.
Yeah, so it sort of reminds me a little bit of the ternary operator in other languages.
I mean, what it basically does is, so 2 magic things happen here. One magic thing for me is always this hashtag here. So the hashtag is the reference operator in this case. So conditional operator is basically doing conditions. So it checks for all when clauses in the set of those brackets here. You can have multiple of those. And then if the logical operator here is true, then this will happen. You can have more of those whens here as well with other then results. And at the end, what else? In this case, it's quite easy because we only have one when. So as long as it's the x is bigger than 0, the else is always true. So we always calculate. So that's a break for the recursion we had before. So that's the what's inside here. And this little thing here decides what should I construct out of all those. So what will I hand over to the left side of the assignment here? So it's interference, and ABAP, the ABAP compiler looks closely into what is this here. And if you take a look at what it is, you can see the fuel here. Well, that's quite small. So with the F2 and Eclipse, you can always very nicely have a look into what is everything here, and you see that the fuel is type E, type integer. So the system itself is able to infer what should be the data type of the thing that comes out of here. The constructor expression always constructs something. In this case, it should be an integer, and the system knows that it's an integer because of the referral to the fuel, which is.
So it's using type inference from the fuel.
Yeah. So it's in the method definition. It's here defined as an integer type.
Yep.
Basically, basic ABAP type integer. It also works for data elements and for everything more complex for classes and whatever. So that's a very nice feature from the constructor expressions you have here. Same goes on here, for example, with the reduce is another nice thing. Reduce always is able to build either like calculate one output from the table input, or from, like in this case, we've got a table input modules that are all the modules of the internal table, and then it reduces everything in there to just one value. That's the total fuel needed here. And that's what's happening in here. So another one of those very nice new function style ABAP language features coming up with 7.4. Service page
I think
something.
I remember when I first read that reduce was coming to the ABAP language, and I'll be really honest, I couldn't imagine how it would look, because obviously the whole sort of reduce concept, in my mind at least, it's going to be really hard to fit into the ABAP syntax. But actually, the way it's been done is really quite beautiful. It looks different. It looks very different to any other reduce expression that you see in other languages. But it's very clear to see that you've got your starting value, you've got the thing that you're mapping over or reducing over, and then you've got your function that is actually the thing that's called on each iteration of the reduce. It's yeah, exactly. Boo says really reduces. Yeah, reduces. I mean, reduces the mother of all expression functions. It's just wonderful to see it in ABAP as well.
Yeah, that's quite nice. Maybe since I guess if you want to take a closer look to all the other ABAP solutions to all those riddles, what you can do is you can go to GitHub, of course, and here's my GitHub repo where I put all of my examples so far. So in here you see all those ABAP coding in ABAP in GitHub. And if people are thinking about ABAP in GitHub, yes, that's possible. And that's a cool thing. And Lars, who is in the chat I saw, is the guy who started it all, and many of the community people helped out with the ABAP Git project. So I want to give a shout out to that one. It's great and it helps a lot. And thanks to ABAP Git, it's not only me putting out stuff on the GitHub repository, there are others as well. I found, for example, let's go and over. Here's the solution I was just looking at. That is from Trick Tresor. That's Enno Wolf. So shout out to Enno, who also is doing ABAP End of Code 2019. So we can find his solutions here as well. Others doing that as well, like give a shout out to Navid, who even wrote a blog on it in the SAP community, where he also put some of his solutions, like here's let me make that a little bit bigger. Here's a solution from him, also using the reduce for the one solution. That's really good. Way with my recursion, he could go with the reduce here, also working quite nice. But in this two solution where you have to, but that's the one where I used my recursion for, where he's going in for some loops.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. In fact, sorry, Hendrik. I was going to say one of the things that's really struck me over the past few evenings is that reduce is often a way to sort of, it's something I reach to solve these sorts of problems, and or recursion. They seem to sort of go hand in hand, maybe two sides of the same coin. And once you get your head around both of those, then I think your ability to think about things differently, programming-wise, is greatly increased. Actually, talking of that and functional programming, the other comment that I picked up from the chat was from Helmut. Helmut, you said something about the fact that you were hammered a little bit by intersection. So when Hendrik was talking about the finding the intersections of the spaceship's paths earlier,
wires, you mean?
Sorry, of the wires earlier. Your function sort of fell down at the intersection part. Mine did too, right? And I don't know why intersection in Randa was taking so long. So I wrote my own intersection function and spliced that in, and it was a lot faster, and so it worked. So give me a shout after the stream, and I'll show you what I did. So yeah, I mean, I wrote a simple intersection function and replaced the one that Randa was giving me. And finally, there was a comment from Chris as well, from Boo Boo. Are higher order functions now in sorry, I've just seen John's comment about a cash grab. Yeah, I can't stop these. I mean, it's part of the platform, part of the Twitch platform, which allows me to stream for free. So there we go. Oh, you wrote your own too. That's awesome. Awesome, Helmut. That's brilliant. So yeah, Chris was saying, so are there higher order functions or higher level functions in ABAP? I think to use the classic word in the German word "jein," I mean, there are and there aren't. I mean, there is reduce, and reduce is normally a higher order function. And in most languages it is, but actually the way it's implemented in ABAP is that you don't pass in an external function to the reduce call. You actually supply the code as a lambda. I'm not sure whether you'd be able to pass a function into the reduce. I defer to the modern 7.4 plus ABAP experts to answer that. But yeah, that's a really interesting question. But anyway, Hendrik, that was absolutely fantastic. I really like these sort of streams, because we get to showcase awesome folks from the community, and of course, if anybody on the chat would like to come on and show us some code, one of the key things for me for hands-on SAP Dev is it is hands-on, and it is all about seeing code on screen, even though we can see our well, two very handsome faces and my ugly faces there on the bottom left right hand corner.
Yeah, it's quite funny, DJ. Let me just give you a last glimpse on ABAP, how it can look like to check your password from day 4.
Oh yes, that's a nice one. Yeah.
What I did there is using regular expressions.
Oh my god. Okay.
And I had to turn my head around that stuff because it comes up on the odd year, I guess. And then every time I think of learning it new from the beginning, but I think that's quite a nice solution approach.
It is a nice solution. Yeah, I mean,
I'm quite looking forward to see what other people did there, but yeah.
Yes, definitely. Well, let's chat. I mean, just for those who don't know, there is in the SAP Mentors and Friends Slack channel, Slack workspace, there's a channel, Advent of Code. Go across and find that. If you want to find that channel, Vitaly Rudnitsky, one of my friends and colleagues in the developer advocates team, he wrote a blog post earlier this week on Advent of Code and solving that with some data things. There's a link at the bottom of that blog post there, but I've just seen that Napheet, thank you Napheet, has posted a link to that Slack channel. Let's discuss more. Oh, and also thank you Hendrik. That's the link there as well.
And that's Napheet's blog. You posted the link there as well.
Oh, okay. Yes, that's brilliant. That's maybe where I was thinking actually. Sorry. So that's that. There's a book I can recommend. I'll put it on the Slack channel. I learned all that I know about regular expressions from Mastering Regular Expressions by Jeffrey Friedel, who was one of the key folks building regular expressions in Perl back in the day. It's an awesome book. But I'll leave you with one quote from Jamie Zawinski, who worked at Mozilla building out Netscape, building out the Netscape browser a long time ago. And he said, a developer has a problem and he thinks, I know, I'll use regular expressions. Now he has 2 problems. And with that, Gregor, Hendrik, 2 superstars of the many superstars of the community, thank you so much for showing us this awesome stuff. Can't wait to start hacking around with some of the stuff I've learned from both of you today. I'm sure other people are feeling the same. So thanks so much. We're approaching the top of the hour. The recording will be available of this shortly on Twitch. I'll post a link in the stream and also in the Slack channel and on Twitter. I'm going for some more coffee because I think I need it. Thank you so much. And that's the end of this episode. Have a great weekend and see you on the other side. Thanks, folks.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.